So our next presentation, we're going to move into kind of the next session of cultivars, Pawpaw cultivars and breeding efforts, part 3. And Tom Wahl is our first presenter, who will be talking with us about Pawpaw breeding at Red Fern Farm. This mic, or you can use the handheld mic if you prefer to walk around. Just
I might switch around.
Yeah, so they'll turn it on. You don't have to turn it on. You just pick it up.
Okay. I am Tom Wahl, owner and operator of Red Fern Farm in Wapello, Iowa, about 2 miles west of the Mississippi River in southeast Iowa. I started planting pawpaws back in the early 1990s. Started with sunflower, T2, Pennsylvania Golden, NC1, Overlease, Prolific, maybe some, Wells and Mitchell, which turned out to be no better than the average wild tree. And I started planting the seeds from those and growing them out. And long story short, there's really absolutely nothing remarkable came out of that effort. But once Shenandoah and Susquehanna became available, I started hand pollinating those and planting out seeds. And between an 8-year drought and other problems, the seedlings from that cross grew slowly. But fairly recently, they finally made it up to fruiting size, and the results from that was dramatically different from the previous efforts. And I've got some varieties that I named from that cross. I call the family Shensus for Shenandoah, Susquehanna. And I want to straighten something up here right now. One of my selections from that cross is called Canopus, not Canopus, which I've been hearing over and over again. Canopus sounds a lot like something that's still illegal in Iowa. And I don't want anybody calling my tree by that name. Once again, it's Canopus. Canopus. Okay. And then there are a few others, Asterion, Atria, Betria, and Gatria. Neil Peterson chose a river theme. I chose a celestial theme for my naming. Neil's running short of rivers, and I'm not anywhere near running short of star names so far. And then a new generation of Shensus seedlings have just started fruiting. And Jim Dingus, who I don't think is here yet, he'll be here tomorrow. He saw one of them, and he said, "You should name this Nebulous, because Nebulous is a big group of stars, and this is better than all your other star-themed ones." And maybe it is, but it's only got 1 year of data on it. It's only fruited for 1 year. I actually have 3 separate parallel pawpaw breeding projects going on right now. The smallest and most recent one is I am crossing known or suspected self-fruitful pawpaws with each other to see what portion, if any, of the progeny of the offspring will be self-fruitful. And it's going to take a bunch of years before I have any data to release on that one. Then I have another pawpaw breeding project where I'm breeding pawpaws for Zone 4, even for Zone 4A. And so I have a pawpaw from Northfield, Minnesota. The original tree was growing in Northfield, Minnesota. I have 2 more where the original trees are from Plymouth, Minnesota, which is like another hour north of Northfield. It's a northwest suburb of Minneapolis. So the winds howling out of the northwest don't have time to get warmed up by a big city before they hit Plymouth. So it's almost like being out in the country northwest of Minneapolis. Let's see. And then also crossing two selections from the northwest margin of the Pawpaw's native range, the two of the Halvin selections. And then one more. Dr. Pomper made some disparaging remarks about the cultivar Taylor this morning, and he asked the question, why would anybody plant it? Well, for me, and maybe down here close to the equator, Taylor doesn't perform well, but up close to the North Pole, where I grow pawpaws, Taylor is not bad. It's not large fruit, but the fruit's good, tastes good, it grows well. And I found out recently that Taylor is being grown in central Quebec in Zone 4A, where it's the only variety they tried that ripens fruit. So that's another good reason to grow it if you're trying to breed polar pawpaws, which is what I'm doing. But my biggest project is just a general large fruit, productive and good tasting pawpaw breeding. And I should be screening for additional characteristics like cracking, but I'm also breeding chestnuts and heartnuts and persimmons and Cornelian cherries and maybe some other things. And I have reached the limits of my ability to manage complexity. So I have to limit what I'm screening for in pawpaw breeding. So I rate my seedlings, once they come into production, I rate them on 3 factors on a scale of 1 to 5. And I write out a little tag on the pawpaws with 3 numbers on it on a scale of 1 to 5. So 5 is the best, 1 is the worst. So the first number is for fruit size. So a tree that puts out fruit the size of Susquehanna and Potomac gets a 5. And if it puts out fruit the size of Shenandoah, it gets a 4. Or if it's Pennsylvania Golden or Overlease, it gets a 3. And then if it's Tay2 or Taylor size, it gets a 2. And if it's wild type, it gets a 1. And then for productivity, a really heavy bearing tree gets a 5. And then a tree with hardly any fruit gets a 1, and so on. And then for flavor, again, it's a scale of 1 to 5. Almost nobody gets a 5. But I give a lot of 4s. But if you're crossing Susquehanna and Shenandoah, the seedlings of those are going to get lots of 4s. And I think out of a couple of hundred trees, I found 3 that got a 5. One of them I gave a 5+, and that's a one of a kind. Is anybody here familiar with Samuel Thayer? Well, a few of you are. Okay. Samuel Thayer is hosting a wild edible get-together, and I guess somebody brought one of my seedling selections to him to taste, and he was very impressed by it. He wasn't impressed by the name. I call it Chateau Rouge. It's growing right next to a red shed. I know from experience that if you call something red shed, nobody will want it. But if you call it Chateau Rouge, the name sells itself. I had a similar experience with a chestnut tree that had such a huge crop one year, it broke the whole top out from the weight of the nuts, and it crashed to the ground. I named it Broke Tree and tried to sell seedlings from it. Nobody wanted it. till I changed the name to Arbor Lady, which is Latin for broke tree. And then it became popular. Jim's Nebulous, let's see, Jennifer's Twin, and let's see, there's a couple of others that are escaping my memory right now. But, and Adam's Wowie are my two most recent trees that I'm selecting for experimentation. They're not varieties I'm ready to release yet because they've only produced fruit for 1 year. And one thing I found out is a lot of trees don't necessarily do the same thing when they're grown-ups as they did when they're teenagers. So I'm going to have to wait and see on these varieties. What's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, for chestnuts, I want a minimum of 10 years of observation before I decide they're a good tree. And it probably would be a good idea to do that for pawpaws too, I'm guessing. But all that said, the most impressive one I have so far of the new selections is the one I call Adam's Wowie. And I'm calling it that because last fall, Adam D'Angelo, who was here talking this morning, was walking along the tree rows, and he looked up at that tree and said, "Wowie!" and with good reason. That tree had a fruit on it right about this high, just above eye level for me, that was really big. And I was really looking forward to weighing it and seeing how big it was, and I did get to weigh it. But up above it, out of my reach, it was about 10 inches above my highest reach, was a noticeably larger fruit. And I really wanted to weigh that one. But a customer picked it and brought it home. And so I'll never know how big it was unless that customer comes back this year and tells me about it. But the one down here weighed 28 ounces. That's 1.75 pounds. And the one up there was noticeably bigger than that. And it has excellent flavor. Not quite 5+, but plenty good enough. So anyway, that's my breeding efforts. Oh, one more thing. Dr. Pomper mentioned this morning he was looking for a pawpaw with a strong color break, and I've got one of those from my, it turns almost lemon yellow when it's ripe, and the first year it ripened, every single fruit ripened on the same day. And since then it's like pawpaws do, they don't always do the same thing every year, and now the fruit ripening on that tree ranges over 2 to 4 days, but that's still a lot less time than what's typical for pawpaws. But I'm almost out of time, so I'll entertain any questions, if any.
Well, I have one. It's not breeding. It's just I think your marketing strategy is quite different for most people, because you have pick your own, I think.
Virtually everything I sell off the farm is pick your own. Yeah.
Did you'll have to explain what I said because not everybody heard.
Neil asked, or he commented that my marketing is different from most people's, and that I sell pawpaws and everything else, pick your own. And you might think I can't work with pawpaws because customers won't know how to pick ripe fruit. And yes, we do have to teach every new customer how to judge ripeness on fruit. Every year we have a batch of new customers that need to be taught. But it works most of the time for the most part. It's not perfect. In fact, just a couple days ago we had a woman come by who had picked pawpaws before, and she wanted to refresh her on how to judge ripeness, and I showed her how to tell when they're ripe or not. And then I left her, and She ignored all the right fruit and picked rock hard but great big huge fruit. And I think she picked 40 pounds of it. And she paid for it. But yeah, pick your own works. And it's great. I'll never go back. Not just for Pawpaw, but for chestnut and everything else. It eliminates harvesting cost, sorting cost, sanitation cost, packaging cost, refrigeration cost, and advertising costs. And when you eliminate all those costs, there's nothing left but profit.
On the topic of dealing with weeds and establishing trees, and there's been some discussion on that a few minutes ago. How do you handle that in your orchard? Like when you're planting a new tree out, how do you handle weeds and grass? And
I use a herbicide, sulfonylurea methyl, the trade name Oust, to get trees established. I usually have to use it for about 3, on pawpaws that grow slower, even 4 or 5 years in a row, and then I don't need it after that. After that, I run a flock of sheep through under the trees, and they will not touch pawpaws. They might rub on them, but they don't browse pawpaws, and I know that from 8 years of experience. They absolutely will not touch a pawpaw leaf, and they are excellent at mowing. They are excellent at producing tremendous quantities of high quality fertilizer, and they spread it, and they do it all for free.
I think one time I heard you in a talk say that you thought that herbicide was less toxic or less impactful than using glyphosate.
Yeah. Glyphosate is known to damage the soil. In fact, pecan growers in Texas and Oklahoma who really like to harvest pecans from bare soil would use like 6 applications of glyphosate a year under their trees. And they found out after about 20 years that it was killing their trees. The sulfonylurea methyl doesn't seem to cause soil damage. It's also used at an extremely low rate. But it's a granular. The amount I use on an acre of tree planting is a little bit less than what you could pinch between your thumb and forefinger. On a tree planting with 20 by 20 spacing, it would be 1/57th of 1 ounce per acre. So, well, the chemical name is sulfonylurea methyl, and the trade name is Oust. But that would be Oust XP, and there's also an Oust Extra that has an additional chemical that can kill trees. So don't use Oust Extra, but Oust XP. And the cost is about 5 cents per acre for the chemical. And it gives a whole year of weed control for 5 cents an acre. So that's what I do. And I'm not ashamed of it.